It's 11:40 p.m., the 23rd of December. The house is quiet, except for the soft rustle of wrapping paper in the kitchen. Jenny Morrison is standing alone, carefully folding the corners of snowman paper around a dollhouse she spent hours choosing for her 4-year-old daughter. On the tag, she writes, "From Daddy. Upstairs, Mark is asleep, unaware." Downstairs, Jenny feels both proud and weary. She reaches for the scissors, ready to cut another piece of tape. Her fingers pause on the handle. The kitchen counter is already crowded with scraps of paper, half-used rolls of ribbon, and a pile of gifts waiting to be labelled. She glances at the clock. 11:40 p.m. Tomorrow morning, Emma's eyes will light up. Mark's name will be on the tags. Jenny feels the ache in her shoulders, the tiredness in her hands, and the silence of doing it all alone. Pride is there, yes, but so is something else. A small knot of frustration she can't quite name, and in that quiet moment, the thought rises in her chest, sharp and undeniable. When did I become Santa's unpaid intern? This scene isn't just Jenny's. It's playing out in millions of homes tonight, and it's not really about Christmas wrapping marathons. It's about something quieter and far more dangerous. It's about women who, often without even noticing, appoint themselves as the directors of their own love stories. They manage every plot point, coach every performance, and make sure every scene follows their script. We give it nicer names, being helpful. We call it being organized, being responsible. But let's be honest. What we're actually doing is erasing opportunities. Jenny can't see that yet. In her kitchen at midnight, she feels productive, efficient. She feels like the glue holding Christmas together. What she doesn't realize is that every gift she wraps from Daddy is quiet evidence of a theft she's been committing for years. She has been stealing Mark's chance to show up, then wondering why the house feels so silent. Because here's the truth. You can't silence someone's efforts and then complain about the emptiness. This isn't a story about lazy husbands. Mark isn't upstairs scrolling his phone, avoiding responsibility. He tried. In the beginning, he really tried. He bought Emma's very first Christmas present, a stuffed elephant that played lullabies. Jenny returned it the next day for something more educational. He planned their 3rd anniversary dinner at a restaurant he'd been saving up to try. Jenny called ahead and changed it to somewhere more romantic. Oh! He picked out a birthday gift for Jenny's sister. Jenny exchanged it for something more her style. Over time, Mark learned the lesson Jenny never meant to teach. His choices weren't good enough. His timing wasn't right. His ideas always needed improvement. So he stopped having ideas. And here's the tragedy. The tragedy isn't that Mark became passive. It's that Jenny became so good at being helpful, she smothered the very thing she wanted most. She wanted a thoughtful husband. Instead, she trained a polite assistant. Lisa knows this dance by heart. She's been married to Chris for 8 years, and she handles every gift-giving occasion with military precision. Birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. She researches. She purchases. She wraps. She presents. And Chris? He shows up like a guest at his own life. Last Christmas, he handed her a Target gift card, not because he didn't love her, but because he had learned the safest truth. Anything he chose would be wrong. Lisa looked at that card and felt the familiar wave of disappointment. "This isn't what I wanted," she sighed. Chris's answer cut deeper than she ever expected. "How would you know? You never gave yourself the chance to want what I chose." And he was right. She had been so busy protecting herself from disappointment that she made disappointment inevitable. That is the heartbreaking irony of the helpful controller's life. We think we are preventing disasters by handling everything ourselves. We think we're improving the outcome by managing every detail. But what we're actually creating is the biggest disaster of all. A partner who stops trying. When you keep repainting someone's canvas, they eventually stop picking up the brush. I know. Because I was Jenny, I was Lisa. I was the woman who bought my own Mother's Day gifts and then signed the card from him. I was the woman who planned every anniversary, managed every holiday, researched every present. And I told myself a story. I told myself I was good at these things. I told myself I enjoyed doing them. I told myself it was easier than waiting for him to figure it out. But the truth was darker. I wasn't strong. I was scared of being disappointed, so I killed the possibility of surprise. Afraid his choices wouldn't be perfect, so I made sure he never had the chance to choose. I wanted to feel treasured, but I was too afraid to let anyone else hold the treasure. The wake-up call came at our daughter's 5th birthday party. I had planned everything: the theme, the decorations, the cake, the games, the guest list. And my husband? He showed up like another invited guest, smiling, helpful, but completely absent from the creation of his own child's celebration. A friend leaned over and whispered, "You handle it all so beautifully. Your husband must feel so grateful." Grateful, not proud, not accomplished, not like a father who had created magic for his daughter. Just grateful, like someone who had been rescued from a responsibility too heavy to carry. That night, after the dishes were done and our daughter was asleep, I sat in the living room, surrounded by gifts I had chosen, purchased, and wrapped, every single detail done by me. And I realized something shocking. I had been committing a crime for years. I had been stealing his opportunities to love us. Every time I took over, I was sending him the same message. Your efforts are not welcome. Your ideas are not good enough. Your love needs my management to be acceptable. The worst part? He had started to believe it. But here's what I didn't see yet in that living room full of perfectly curated birthday magic. The loss wasn't just his. It was mine, because every managed moment, every controlled outcome, every flawless plan was another wall between me and the chance to be genuinely surprised, to be truly cherished, to be authentically loved by someone who chose me without my direction. That night, after the dishes were done and our daughter was asleep, I sat in the living room, surrounded by gifts I had chosen, purchased, and wrapped every single detail done by me. And I realized something shocking. I had been committing a crime for years. I had been stealing his opportunities to love us. Every time I took over, I was sending him the same message. Your efforts are not welcome. Your ideas are not good enough. Your love needs my management to be acceptable. The worst part? He had started to believe it. But here's what I didn't see yet in that living room full of perfectly curated birthday magic. The loss wasn't just his. It was mine. Because every managed moment, every controlled outcome, every flawless plan was another wall between me and the chance to be genuinely surprised, to be truly cherished, to be authentically loved by someone who chose me without my direction. The question haunted me for weeks. What would happen if I stopped? But here's the truth. Knowing you should stop controlling and actually putting down the clipboard are two very different things. My first attempt was clumsy. Our son's birthday was coming up, and instead of automatically heading to the toy store, I turned to my husband and asked, "What are you thinking for Tyler's present?" He froze. The suspicion in his eyes was immediate. "Are you testing me?" he asked. 12 years of marriage, and he still couldn't believe I was actually asking for his opinion instead of handing him my decision. That's when I realized how deep the damage went. I hadn't just trained him to be passive. I had trained him to expect supervision. Lisa decided to step back from planning their anniversary. She said lightly, "Our anniversary's coming up," and then nothing more. Chris looked at her, startled, his brows pulled together. "Do you want me to book something?" His voice was cautious, like he was tiptoeing through a minefield. That night, silence stretched between them. Chris sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, rubbing his hands together. He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally let the words drop, flat and heavy. "I don't know what you like anymore." He didn't look at her, just shook his head slowly, almost to himself. After a long pause, his shoulders sank, and that silence said everything. "I used to know, but not anymore. I've stopped trying." Masculine joy lives in the choosing. And when you do all the choosing, you steal all the joy. But stepping back, it isn't just hard because of the damage you discover. It's hard because every fiber of your being screams against it. The night I decided to let my husband handle our daughter's school Valentine's party, I lay in bed wide awake. My mind spun through every possible disaster. What if he forgot? What if he bought something embarrassing? What if the other parents judged us? What if our daughter felt humiliated? I was sweating over scenarios that hadn't even happened yet. And that's when I came face to face with a truth control addicts never want to admit. Most of our helping isn't about helping at all. It's about soothing our own anxiety. We don't take over because our partners are incapable. We take over because we can't stand the uncertainty of not knowing how things might turn out. Jenny faced the same reckoning when she decided to let Mark handle the Christmas stockings. It sounded so simple. Just stockings. But as the days slipped by and he still hadn't mentioned them, her mind spun. She pictured empty stockings hanging by the fireplace, her children's faces falling in disappointment, Mark realizing too late that he had failed. By the 20th of December, her anxiety was peaking. The Amazon cart sat full. Her finger hovered over "Buy now." Mark looked at her across the room, not with indifference, not with passivity, but with a steadiness she hadn't seen in years. For weeks, he had been watching her differently, as if he noticed her struggle, as if he understood. There was a light in his eyes, faint but alive. He wasn't checked out anymore. He was paying attention, almost awake. And Jenny realized with a start, this wasn't the look of a man about to fail. It was the look of a man stepping back into his own life. On the 21st of December, Mark finally spoke. He didn't look up from his laptop at first. "I know you're worried about the stockings," he said quietly. "I see it every time you look at the fireplace, but I've got it." Then he lifted his eyes to hers. "I know this is hard for you, trusting me with something that matters, but I need you to let me do it." And in that moment, Jenny realized something even scarier than empty stockings. Mark had noticed all along her anxiety, her constant management, her lack of trust. He had seen it for years, and he had been waiting for permission to step back into his own life. Lisa had her own awakening during a conversation with her sister. He never puts any thought into gifts, Lisa complained, frustrated by Chris's practical choices. Her sister was silent for a moment. Then she asked, "When's the last time you let him see you be surprised? Really surprised? Not polite, not forced, truly surprised." The words hit Lisa hard. She realized she had trained Chris to play it safe, to be practical, because she never showed joy in anything unexpected. Every gift that wasn't exactly what she envisioned was met with a forced smile or a subtle correction. She confessed, almost ashamed. "He gave me a toolbox last Christmas. I was mortified. I returned it and bought myself jewelry instead." "What kind of tools?" her sister asked. Lisa hesitated. "I don't know. I didn't even look. A toolbox just felt unromantic." But that night, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Chris had given her tools, and she had been talking for months about refinishing furniture, about projects she wanted to try. He had been listening. He had been paying attention. He had chosen something that spoke to her dreams, her interests, her real life. And she had been too blinded by her picture of romance to see the romance that was already there. That was the true crisis. Not the toolbox, but the realization of how many moments like this she had missed. How many times had Chris tried to love her in his own language, while she demanded he speak hers? How many thoughtful choices had she erased because they didn't fit her script of what love should look like? Standing in her kitchen, remembering the unopened toolbox she had returned, Lisa felt the full weight of it. She hadn't just managed Chris's choices. She had rejected them. Again and again, until he finally stopped choosing at all. She was the woman who had spent years making sure she always got exactly what she wanted. And then one day, she realized she no longer knew what that was. She only knew what she was supposed to want. And the man who had once tried to love her in his own way had learned to give her nothing at all, because nothing felt safer than another rejection. The greatest theft wasn't what she had stolen from him. It was what she had stolen from herself, the possibility of being genuinely surprised by love. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning in March, 6 months into my own recovery. I was at Target, supposedly just picking up laundry detergent, when I saw my husband standing in the greeting card aisle. He was holding 2 birthday cards, reading each one carefully. For Emma's 9th birthday, the birthday I hadn't mentioned, hadn't planned, hadn't written on the calendar with helpful reminders. I stood hidden behind the shampoo display, watching him like a wildlife photographer spotting a rare species. He rejected the first card, picked up a third, smiled at something inside, went back to the second. This went on for 10 minutes, 10 whole minutes of careful thought for a card that would be opened, read once, and forgotten by bedtime. But watching his face, I saw something that stopped me cold. Joy, pure, uncomplicated. Joy. He wasn't shopping because he had to. He wasn't grimly checking off a box. He was choosing something to make his daughter smile. And in the choosing, he was smiling too. I had forgotten that gift giving could be joyful for the giver. That night, Emma tore open a card with a cartoon cat in a tutu. Inside it read, "Hope your birthday is perfect, just like you." She collapsed in giggles, and my husband's face lit up. I realized I had never seen him look that proud of any gift I had chosen for him to give. Jenny's breakthrough came in a very different place, back to school shopping. She had promised herself she wouldn't interfere with Mark's job of handling their son's supplies. But standing in the aisle, watching him compare wide-ruled and college-ruled notebooks like he was decoding ancient texts, her instincts flared. Her mouth opened, ready to guide. Then she noticed something. Tyler was right there beside him, chattering about which folders he liked, debating the merits of mechanical versus regular pencils. Father and son were having a real conversation. Mark was asking Tyler's opinions, considering his preferences, making him part of the decision. When had Jenny last done that? She had always been too focused on efficiency to include the kids in the process. By the time they reached the checkout line, Tyler was carrying the basket, proudly showing off his choices to the cashier. "My dad and I picked everything out ourselves," he announced. That single word "ourselves" hit Jenny like a revelation. Because when she handled everything, there was no ourselves. There was only her, deciding for everyone else. Lisa's moment of transformation came wrapped in sandpaper and wood stain. One evening, Chris disappeared into the garage after work. 3 hours later, he emerged carrying something in his hands. A jewelry box. Not bought, built, with his own hands, from wood he had chosen, in a design he had created. "I know you love that antique dresser in our bedroom," he said, running his fingers across the smooth edges. "I wanted to match the wood grain." Lisa had mentioned that dresser exactly once, 8 months earlier. He had been listening. He had been planning. He had been creating something that didn't exist in any store. Something entirely about her and entirely from him. As she traced the handcrafted dovetail joints, she realized this is what romance looks like when it comes from him, instead of from her expectations. And here's the shocking discovery. It wasn't just the men who had been holding back, dialing down their natural instincts to provide and to surprise. It was us, the women too, so afraid of disappointment that we forgot how to be delighted. I'll never forget the night my own husband planned our anniversary dinner at a tiny Ethiopian restaurant I'd never even heard of. My first instinct was anxiety. This wasn't the elegant, romantic setting I would have chosen. But then I watched him explain to the server that he had researched the menu because I had once mentioned wanting to try more diverse cuisines. And for the first time in years, I felt something I thought I had lost, genuine surprise. The food was amazing. The conversation was easy, and I fell in love again with the man who had been hidden behind my management all along. Here's what recovery really looks like in daily life. The next time a gift-giving occasion comes around, you bite your tongue. 3 full days. No reminders, no hints. When he finally says, "I've got it," you smile, say "great," and then walk out of the room before the suggestions start tumbling out. And when the gifts appear, and they're not what you would have chosen, you find one genuine thing to appreciate. And you say that first. You start to notice the difference between curiosity and control. What's your plan for Father's Day? That's curiosity. Don't you think we should start planning Father's Day? That's control wearing a helpful mask. You practice the art of graceful receiving. He brings you coffee in a mug you wouldn't have picked. Focus on the fact that he brought you coffee. He chooses a restaurant you never would. Notice what's wonderful about his taste. He handles a family task differently from you. Remember, different doesn't mean wrong. And the most important part, you learn to trust the process even when it looks nothing like your process. Especially then, and the ripple effects, they're stunning. Kids start asking Dad for his opinion instead of running to Mom for everything. Husbands who feel trusted with the big things begin taking initiative with the small ones. And women who stop managing every outcome finally get to feel something they haven't in years. The thrill of being genuinely surprised. But the deepest transformation isn't what happens in your marriage. It's what happens inside of you. You discover that the control you thought was protecting you was actually imprisoning you. When you stop directing every scene, you get to be part of the story. When you stop managing every outcome, you finally get to be surprised by what actually happens. And the most beautiful gift? It isn't the one you would have picked. It's the one someone chose for you, with their own heart, their own mind, their own desire to see you smile. So here's the practice. Tonight, choose one small thing you normally handle, and don't mention it, don't remind, don't manage. Step back and watch. Because you may discover that the person you married has been waiting for years, waiting for the chance to love you without your direction. And trust me, the silence you've been hearing isn't because he doesn't care. It's the pause before their voice. They've just been waiting for you to stop long enough to let them speak. The love story you've been directing is still waiting for you to step off the stage and into the scene. When you stop managing, you open the door to being truly loved.